Really special segment coming up here this afternoon, so stick with us throughout the hour. I think this is going to be very enlightening for so many folks. And we are actually going to be talking about what's being described as a pre-escalation device when it comes to law enforcement interactions with the community. And so we wanted to learn more about it here at WCNC Charlotte. So we actually brought in Rowan Sheriff Travis Allen, who we understand the agency is considering this device, or at very least sampling it just to kind of see how it works. And we also have Alan Hurley, who's with Tactical Innovations and representing basically the device makers, BolaWrap, because that's what it's called, BolWrap. And we just wanted to learn more about it. So thanks, y'all, for coming in. We appreciate you taking the time to visit us and have this dialogue.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's start off with BolaWrap, and I am going to start with Alan, since people kind of want to get an idea of what this device is all about. And just so you know, I have a prop here. This is the actual wrap that goes around a person, so you can see that. This was the wrap that went around myself because I took a wrap because I wanted to see how the device worked. Alan, describe for folks a quick and dirty, if you will, of what BolaWrap is and what the goal of BolaWrap is.
So the goal of BolaWrap is to be able to take someone into custody or detain someone without using force or pain compliance. So it'll deploy a 7.5-foot Kevlar cable, and it has two real functions that make it successful. One is that 7.5-foot Kevlar cable that wraps you up. Mm-hmm. The other, as you've seen, was what we call kind of the startle effect, and it's sight, sound, and sensation. And what we're trying to do is break the OODA loop when someone is in a crisis of any sort or aggravated resistance, giving our officers the best tactical advantage to move in and take that person into custody or detain them.
So we actually have some clips. We mentioned the fact that I took a wrap just a few moments ago, and our producer, Jeb, also took a wrap. So we just kind of wanted to see firsthand what the device feels like. So we'll go ahead and play those clips right now for our viewers here on Live Impact News to watch. So, Jeb, let's go ahead and roll that. We're just going to do a demo here for the Bolar Wrap, and I hear that it's going to be maybe a little bit shocking to the system for a few reasons, but should be, of course, not painful. All right, so do you want me to move around? Okay.
Yeah, so are we ready?
I'm Rowan.
Ma'am, I need you to comply. Ma'am, I need to put your hands behind your back.
Ma'am, please comply, ma'am.
Please, ma'am. Bola, bola, bola.
Any pain?
It was just shocking. So, I mean, you kind of saw my reaction there. It was almost like a delayed reaction where I was just watching my face after hearing, you hear there's a pop, the sound of the deployment, this cable wraps around your legs, and then I kind of stand there and I'm thinking, what just happened? And, to their point, I mean, there was no pain. I guess, Alan, this device here, I mean, we kind of see it from, I guess, a static standpoint where, me as a subject, I'm standing there, I'm not moving. What sort of scenarios can this device be used? Does it make a difference if you're in a tighter space, if the person's moving? I guess, how does that work?
Yeah, great question. So a couple things. So one, the device can be used in a static situation. What an officer would do is it would be working that person, moving around, moving the room, moving them to getting where they can get the best deployment possible. So they can do that. Also, if the person's very combative, they can actually wrap from like the wrist to the elbows, and that way kind of containing someone's arms, and you can wrap the arms and the legs. But people often ask, can you deploy it when somebody's moving away, walking away, or running away? Of course you can. Is it a perfect wrap every time? Well, no, someone's moving, but does it tangle them up and allow them to be able to be detained and slow them down? Absolutely it does. So it works in many of those different situations.
Yeah, and for full transparency, we did want to point out the fact, I'm wearing sweatpants in the demonstration per your request. You had told me over the phone when we were trying to get a little background on the device, the fact that, for example, if someone is wearing shorts or short sleeve shirts, there is the potential that because there are hooks on the device that it could catch on them, but it's not supposed to be excruciating. I guess,
right. It's not. You could get a small prick about like a Band-Aid. That's possible. A lot of time the cable will hook upon the cable itself, or it'll tether into the clothing. But you could potentially get a small prick if you do have something that requires like a Band-Aid.
And I mean, I asked you this over the phone as well. I thought about worst case scenario. Let's say the officer, for whatever reason, deploys the device higher up into the individual, is it possible for it to wrap around a person's neck?
Yeah, anything's possible, of course. I mean, that's happened before, and with no injury of any sort.
So it's
Not that it may not ever have that, but we've never seen one.
And you were saying that this device is being used by thousands of different agencies around the world.
Yeah, we have about 1,600 agencies in the United States domestically, about 55 agencies, and about 12 universities here in the state of North Carolina, and 64 different countries are using the device.
Wow. Well, we want to bring in Sheriff Travis Allen. Speaking of which, we saw actually this device being tested on your Facebook page. It looks like your agency is considering the BolaWrap. What about this device, I guess, kind of draws your attention, makes you feel like this is potentially something we want our deputies to have in the field?
Right. I describe it as law enforcement is a job of tools. What can we equip our deputies with, our detention officers with, our school resource officers with, is another tool that we can use. We have all types of tools on our belt, and a lot of those tools are used for lethal force, like tasers, for firearms and batons. But what for that person that's just in a mental crisis? They're being resistant, but they're not really violent. It's another tool that we can use as law enforcement to de-escalate that situation with literally a reduced risk to the individual and a reduced risk to the officer themselves. Again, it's another tool. It doesn't replace the firearm. It doesn't replace the taser. It's used in conjunction with our other tools. That something that is not really considered a use of force and a de-escalation tool. In other words, this tool is used before it gets out of hand. It's used before it becomes to a use of force situation. It's something perfect for that individual that's either having a life mental health crisis or maybe a withdrawal from a narcotics. They're not thinking correctly. They're not thinking right. While they're not being violent, they're just not being cooperative. This is the perfect opportunity to go ahead and use it. You're not waiting for any scenario or any perfect situation. If you've got that person in mental crisis that I've got to take this person to the hospital. They have to get medical treatment. They have to get help. How do I do that without hurting them? How do I do that without hurting myself or another deputy? The BolaWrap is a tool that is possibly an answer to one of those questions.
Now, I mean, as someone who leads an office of more than 200 people, obviously a lot of those being deputies in the field, I guess, can you talk about how that sits on your shoulders in the sense of, someone who has to make that decision about how do I make sure my officers are set up for success? How do I make the community, be set up for success as well in interactions with the officers? I mean, because it is a difficult situation, and we know, for example, with the situation, let's just say George Floyd, I know this device predates George Floyd, but there was a lot of community discussion about, how do officers handle situations? So, I mean, is that something that y'all think about and you talk about within your office about how do we make this the best scenario possible?
I think that's, if you call law enforcement industry, it's industry-wide. First, you take care of your people, then you train your people, and then you have to equip your people. So it's 3 steps. You hire them, you train them, then you have to equip them. You have to give them tools to be able to do their job. If to be a successful sheriff, that's the 3 steps I have to do. I have to support my deputies. I have to equip and train my deputies, and then that's the most important step. I can train you, but if I don't give you the proper tools to do your job, and as technology has changed, the tools are changing. We see a lot in drones, and we see a lot in robotics, and we also see things like this that are really addressing issues that we've not really had tools for. I've been a law enforcement officer 31 years. I've been in more scuffles than I want to be in. As I get older, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to hurt others, but sometimes it's the nature of the job. So any tool that I can equip my people with and train them with that gives them another option is a win.
So my understanding is this is probably something that you would potentially have to go to county commission if you were interested in to see what kind of budget there is for that, or I guess how would you hope to see this eventually brought onto your force if you needed this?
We're in the middle of our budget, in our budget year, June. Yeah. We really can't purchase things till July, but what we plan on doing is using asset forfeiture money, which is money from drug raids, narcotics raids, and things, and put a couple on each patrol squad for a test for a pilot run, to train some individuals and sit back and kind of watch it be used and deploy it. That's generally how most law enforcement agencies introduce new equipment. It just doesn't all run in at one time and buy 200 BolaWraps. We're going to buy some, put them on each jail squad, put them on each patrol squad through asset forfeiture funding, and watch them be used. And then we'll be able to take that back to our community, back to grants, back to local businesses, and say, hey, look what difference this is making in the community. Help us fund the office with it. There's a lot of groups and a lot of individuals that are very supportive of law enforcement. And I believe if we can show not just this product, but any product that helps us, hopefully we, the community, behind us in it.
Well, and you were saying that it was actually the community members who came to your office and said, hey, could you look at this device and maybe do a demo of it and see what you think about it?
Yes, it was. It was a community member, Jamal Black, approached the BolaWrap representative company, and they approached our SOCAT sergeant, which is our crimes warrant service team, for a demonstration, and that was where our video originated from. These same individuals here in the room today came to the sheriff's office, wrapped us out in the parking lot that you saw, and the Facebook video kind of went viral, but I think it's because people recognize how law enforcement's changing every day. And we just can't police the same way we used to anymore. Now, we in Rowan County are still very aggressive. We police very aggressively, but we're not naive to the fact that we have to use tools and we have to change with times as well and make sure our officers are provided with state-of-the-art equipment that as law enforcement kind of changes that we keep up with it.
Yeah. I mean, what is your opinion on the device? I mean, other than, from what I understand, you are interested in having it with your office. What strikes you about this device is different or special or something that you need?
To me, it's not the wrap. I think the wrap is a great part of the tool, but and we noticed it in your facial expression that you gave. And you knew you were going to get wrapped. You knew what was happening, and yet it was still to you, it broke. If your mind was maybe in a mental crisis, or you in what they would call that OODA loop, and you can't, those people in mental crisis sometimes are fixated on one thing, and they can't break that chain of thought. That wrap itself, just hearing the noise, feeling the pressure of the wrap, is enough to give the officers that brief 2 or 3 seconds to get to the person and can secure them before they realize what's happening. Because in your mind, you could possibly thinking, did I just get shot? I heard a noise, I felt something, I don't know what that was, and by then we've already handcuffed you. And so even if the wrap fails to totally wrap you up, it still can provide the officers that 2 or 3 seconds they need to get there and make that apprehension.
Yeah. And Alan, you were mentioning the fact that you could potentially wrap multiple times to a single person just by nature of the fact that this isn't supposed to be pain compliance and it's supposed to be non-lethal.
Yeah, that's right. So if you had someone that was ready to fight, they were very combative, you could wrap them from the wrist or elbows. You could wrap them twice up high. You could wrap them twice down low. There's no limit to how many times you can wrap someone because it doesn't enact pain. You're just trying to give the best tactical advantage, safest way to take that person into custody or detain them. So if someone had a stick in their hand, you may decide to wrap their upper arms. If they have a gun or a knife, the BolaWrap wouldn't be the device that you're going to use in that situation. But you can definitely deploy the BolaWrap multiple times on someone to be able to detain them.
It's a really interesting concept. Sheriff Allen, if I could get you to talk about, what you've heard from your men and women in the field, about what challenges they might be facing, specifically as it might pertain to this device, how you think that this could solve some of those challenges. Right.
A big thing in law enforcement nationwide is how do we combat the opioid crisis? How do we combat mental illness, those in mental crisis? So we're constantly looking for tools to meet the needs in that area. I think that is one of the reasons that the video was very popular on Facebook, because people are interested and citizens are interested in what are we doing to help those in mental crisis? How are we serving that community? Because the Rowan County in Salisbury has a very large VA hospital there. So we have a lot of ex-military individuals. We have a lot of people that possibly could be in a mental crisis coming there for mental health treatments and things. And we have other large medical facilities, just like in the Charlotte area. There's a large need for mental health avenues, and this is a area for law enforcement to be able to step into and say, hey, listen, we have ways of de-escalating this crisis before it becomes violent, before it becomes a use of force situation. So there's been a lot of asking around the office. When are we getting these? Are we going to get these? So the deputies are really starting to ask those questions. So, and we've told them, we want to implement a few at a time and see how it works to get some wraps and do some training on it, because there's always the aspect of very thorough training before you implement any tool. It's just not give them a tool, go use it. It's we're going to train you if you have one. We're even going to train you if you don't have one. So you know what's happening and you know what to do and what to respond to when someone gets wrapped. Because we noticed you were wrapped, but myself and another individual came from the side and acted like we were going to apprehend you. So not only does the individual using the BolaWrap need to know what's going on, everybody on the scene needs to understand what's happening. So there's a lot of training to put in the front of something like this.
Yeah. We want to bring in now, we have a retired Chief Henry King, who you've retired from Eaton Police, but you were the first agency, I understand, in North Carolina to deploy this device to your officers. What went into that decision?
So one day I was conversating with my classmates that I graduated from Boston University at SMIP, Senior Management Institute for Police. And we were discussing about this Batman device. So I asked my classmate to send me the information. Once he sent me the information, I contacted the North Carolina Justice Academy to ask could they hold a demonstration here in North Carolina, because they oversee all our training in North Carolina. So once that was done, I brought BolaWrap to Eaton because I wanted to make sure I had buy-in from my citizens, just like Sheriff Allen. So when they came to Eaton, I took them to Rowan Invited Hospital and did a demonstration for my nurses there. They loved it. And then from there, we took the show on the road to Rotary. And we all know that Rotary is a lot of business owners, who's, and my community fell in love with it. If you understand Eaton is a bedroom community, a waterfront community with a lot of retirees there. So, I don't want my officers tasing a 70-year-old retired veteran that's going through PTSD or mental crisis. So this tool was absolutely the best tool available for my officers to use against someone and loved ones. And I love the fact that BolWrap has designed this tool, because this is what law enforcement needs.
So how long ago did you bring that device on?
2019.
2019. Okay, so it's been in place for a few years at this
ma'am.
point. What was the feedback from your officers when they actually, if they had to use it?
Oh, that my officers loved it, and it really decreased the use of force. So earlier you alluded to, you asked Alan a question about the use of force, and I can tell you that I was proudly able to go to my council and let them know that we had 5 use of forces this year. However, we have 15 force avoidance. We call force avoidance. That word allowed my council and citizens to know that we could have used force 15 times, but we deployed the BolWrap. So it lets my citizens know we utilize this tool to alleviate from having to go hands-on, to tase someone, to hit someone, spray someone with OC. We utilize this tool to take them into custody. Therefore, no one got hurt and officers got hurt. And it's a win-win. It established a relationship. Mothers and fathers knew that their child was going through a mental crisis, and they wanted help from the police, but they didn't want their child to get hurt.
I mean, other than just avoiding, the potential use of force, how do you feel like this impacted your office in the sense of how the community viewed your officers whenever they did have to show up to a situation?
It helped bridge the gap, because I tell folks all the time that force is not pretty. So when you call us for law enforcement to come help and we have to take someone into custody, it's not going to be pretty when we use OC, because your eyes are running, your skin is burning, or if you're tased. So here's a tool that allowed us to take you into custody, and your loved ones understand and be grateful that you utilize the BolWrap versus any other tool that's out there. And as a parent myself, I would love, if my child would have to be force used against them, I would love for it to be the pre-escalation BolWrap, because I know what the taser feels like firsthand, being a police officer. I know what OC feels like by being sprayed by OC, and I don't never want to feel like what the firearms feel like, because I don't want to be shot. But it's a thing to where this tool allows you to take care of loved ones, and it bridges the gap from mothers and parents that understand that.
Yeah, I alluded to this before, the fact that there has been a lot of dialogue about, law enforcement and how could they more, for a better outcome, interface with the public in certain situations. How do you hope that develops, that conversation? We'll start with you, Mr. King.
Well, one of the things that I'm hoping that the community hears this and understands, I want the community to ask their chiefs and sheriffs, why don't you have the BolWrap? Have you looked at the BolWrap? I want to go out in the communities and talk about the BolWrap, deploy it on clergy. deployed on the nurses at the hospitals. Because guess what? When you have someone that's come to the hospital and they're under the influence of some of these strong drugs that we have in America, these nurses want to make sure that there's something out there that can keep them safe as well as the patient safe, because we know that the individuals are not in their right mind. So we don't want to have to do what I call the dog pile on trying to get someone in handcuffs when we have this tool that can get them into custody safely. So I think the community needs to hold their county commissioners and city council accountable for ensuring that law enforcement has the necessary tools, so that way it's not dividing us. You know, there's so many scenarios where as a police chief, as a retired police chief, I can show the community that we tried to BolaWrap them. That didn't work. We tried to tase them. That didn't work. So we had to go to something higher. But if you don't have those tools and you automatically have to go to a higher, then everyone is upset. So why not give like the sheriff said, train them, you know, and then equip them with what they need to get the job done.
Yeah, and Sheriff, I'll kind of ask you a similar question. You know, how do you hope the dialogue around community and law enforcement develops going forward, in the sense of, you know, moving towards a place where folks are, you know, there's more of a consensus of law
Right.
enforcement is here to help, and this is going to be a.
It's understanding the role of law enforcement. Like the chief said, it's often a very unpleasant job. And I'm not going to sit here and be naive to the fact that often we have to use force. We have to use force necessary to make the arrest. And often we have to use deadly force. I'm never going to ask my deputies to come to work and put themselves in danger. The BolWrap's a tool. It's another tool on the tool belt that you can use. It doesn't replace the taser. It doesn't replace the firearm. There's many situations that the BolWrap is not applicable for, that it would not be your first choice. But in those nonviolent situations where you're dealing with somebody in mental crisis, you have to have tools that you can do to de-escalate before escalation even starts, to go ahead and immediately take that situation under control. And this is a tool that could possibly use before it gets to those other levels. Again, we're in Rowan County. I support my deputies. I understand that they have to use force. They have to use force necessary and reasonable, and I support them in the avenues of that use of force. It's a very dangerous job, and our goal is to each of us to go home every night at the end of that shift. But it's also our goal to treat our citizens well and to take care of them well. So any tool that we add to our tool belt that helps us accomplish that, I think it shows the citizens of your community, listen, they understand. They understand my family, they understand the situations people are going through, and they're taking the training and they're providing the tools to effectively enforce the law as safely as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I want to just leave with the citizens, you know, with the BolaWrap 150 and law enforcement, we want to hold our citizens accountable. And I tell citizens all the time to utilize what I call the 4 C's. We want our citizens to cooperate. Cooperate doesn't mean that you give up your rights, but cooperate. Be courteous, comply. And then if you feel like that you have been mistreated from law enforcement, complain. Because when you complain, as a chief, it lets me know how my officers are responding to the training that they're receiving. So what does that look like? That looks like, okay, do I need to retrain my officer? Do I need to terminate my officer? Do I need to discipline my officer? Is the training that they're receiving working? So, you know, if citizens would just utilize those 4 C's, it also would help bridge the gap as well.
Yeah. Really interesting conversation, gentlemen. I know, Alan, we moved you out of the secondary spot. Is there anything you wanted to come back and weigh in with before we wrap things up here? And come over to the mic, too, if there is something that you want to add. But yeah, folks, we'll just remind you here on Live Impact News as Alan Hurley's getting settled in here once again. We are looking at this device, which is being called a pre-escalation device called BolWrap, which is being considered by Rowan County Sheriff's Office. And we tested it out, and it's basically a big wrap that wraps around you quickly. There are some hooks here that help kind of keep the device secured once the wrap gets around your body, presumably your legs, but also we're hearing your arms and such. But I mean, I'm really glad that we got to do the demo on it, because it's you know, a device that I could see, you know, with the potential, you know, to really change the game. So, Alan, is there anything that you want to add about this?
No, I just say it truly does the things that these gentlemen have talked about. We've seen it firsthand. We've interviewed officers that have used it. We've talked to people that have been detained by it, and it truly is leading through like a lens of empathy. You have to use force when it's necessary. When it's not, BolaWrap gives you an alternative to do that, and to do it early and often. typically is safer for the individual you're trying to detain, and it's safer for the officer. So we call that in the pre-escalation phase of an incident or in front of someone. So I think that absolutely helps the community, helps them understand that the law enforcement is trying to do the right thing, and they're trying to help the community, and it helps those people that are in crisis.
Sheriff Allen, anything you want to leave us with before we wrap things up?
No, just thank you for the opportunity to come talk to the community about it. Thank you for BolWrap, the representatives being here. They travel from a long ways off, but this is a reach out to maybe some citizens of Rowan County that are watching this and they want to help. You know, we all rely on funding. The BolWrap is very affordable, but when you have 208 employees, that can be quite compelling in your budget. So, you know, for the community, if there's any organizations that want to get behind this, we would love to talk to you.
Very, very interesting dialogue. And okay, you heard it there, folks. We'll continue to follow, you know, how this device, you know, goes as it presumably continues to be deployed in different agencies and different communities. But like we said, it's seemingly kind of trickling through various agencies, not just law enforcement. It sounds like school campuses, and it sounded like Chief King, you mentioned the fact that some nurses have been trained to use it, maybe in hospital situations or otherwise. But we hope that you found this an illuminating discussion here on Live Impact News.